this is Brittnee Bonds, and welcome back to the podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about something that might be triggering. It's around relating to men, for me as a woman, but also some of you have been writing in questions and I want to answer. So let's just dive right in. The question that one of you was asking specifically that I want to answer was about Brittnee, you seem like you have a lot of friends that are men and they are really able and willing and wanting to show up for you and be taking care of you and providing for you. And does this involve you always giving sex in return? And because they were saying I don't think you do, but I also want to have these men in my life as well. And when they were trying to have this type of dynamic, it was being confused and the men were being very pushy with wanting to have a romantic dynamic. So just to clear this up, I have very many men in my life that I have a lot of men in my life that I call my soul family, and I do not have a romantic relationship with these men. Maybe I had in the past, maybe we had a sexual dynamic in the past, but in the moment, I can say 5 men in my literal everyday reality that show up for me, take care of me in different ways, use their masculine energy to make my life better. And we do not have a romantic dynamic. So for a lot of people, this is really what the heck? What does that even mean? And is she using them? Or is this a consensual thing? And what the, I don't even understand this. So for me, I am very good at communication. And I think this is maybe the thing that is missing in a lot of these dynamics is that people are not talking about what does the connection mean for them. There's a really great tool called RBDSM. I have shared about it in some of my podcasts. If you're wanting a more in-depth explanation, you can reach out to me on Instagram. I have a little video I can send you about exactly what is RBDSM. But it's basically a conversation starter of what is our relationship status? What is it what do we want with each other within our connection? Do we want it to be romantic? Do we want it to be friends? What does it mean if we end up having it be romantic? If we end up having sex, what does it mean for us? And many other things that are super important in order to create a safe space. So I have done this with each of these men, and we both have agreed, wow, we love having each other in each other's lives. And also at this moment in time, we both do not want it to be romantic or sexual. And also, so what does it mean for us to be in each other's lives, and how can we show up for each other as friends and as beautiful examples of men and women? And so for me, I love to be a very nourishing, empathetic, caretaking energy for the men in my life. And they know this, I'm super protective of them emotionally. I'm holding safe spaces for them energetically. I'm at my friend Torga's house right now. I'm staying with him for a couple days, and we do not have a romantic relationship right now. We did in the past, but right now we don't. And it's beautiful because we can still cuddle, we can still be in the same bed because we've talked about it, and neither of us are wanting it to be something romantic. And when you talk about it and people are on a consciousness level so they can actually hold it, because that's a whole other thing. It's you can talk about it and people can be yeah, I agree to this. But if they are not able to hold that vibration, then it's not going to work. And so for instance, with me at Torga's house, we take care of each other. We're making each other food. I'm doing the laundry for both of us. He's making sure my trip is booked, for the next thing, and making sure that I have everything I need, and reaching out to people for me and helping me. So there is a very beautiful balance and interchange of energy of just I love you. I have your back. I am here for you. I'm showing up for you. For a lot of people, this is a very advanced level of relating. For a lot of people, this is very confusing because they're how is it that you are able to really authentically show up for each other and no one actually wants anything more? And it's because we talk about it, and also it's because it's authentic for both of us. If one of us was agreeing to saying like, yes, I don't want something romantic, but we actually wanted it, and then we're hiding that, then energetically that's going to bleed through, and that's going to make a very messy situation. So we're being authentic and we're communicating, and then we're holding to that. And if something shifts in the dynamic, if something shifts in the energy between us, then we talk about that too. And then we figure out how best to co-create a reality. And I think this, what I'm about to say, is the most important thing, where we co-create a reality where our connection to each other is the most important thing, and we do what needs to happen in order to protect that connection. So if suddenly it becomes too hard for one of us to sleep in the same bed with each other while we're in a non-romantic part of our dynamic, of our connection, then we won't do that anymore. And I think that's really beautiful, to be able to be that conscious and that aware and talk about it. And a lot of these men use their masculine energy to protect me and provide for me. So like literally they're paying for things for me. They are thinking of me, and they're watching out for me. If they think that I'm in danger in some way, they are immediately there. Like if we're out, I'm just saying, like if we're out in a party or something and they sense like that something's off, they'll immediately come and stand next to me, almost like my bodyguards. And I love this, like, and I appreciate them for this. And I like admire them for being these beautiful men in my life. And also I don't expect it. I think this is also the really important thing, is I can provide for myself. I can protect myself. I can show up for myself. And I've proven to myself that I can live the lifestyle that I want on my own. And so when I'm receiving the love and the protection and provision from these men, it's out of abundance. It's not out of scarcity. And when you're receiving something out of abundance, it how do I put this? It makes it so that you're not ever going to subconsciously try and manipulate the situation. And I say that because I think a lot of women are not necessarily in abundance mindset for themselves. And so when they have men around them in their lives that are willing to show up in these ways, they are taking out of an energy of scarcity. And that doesn't feel very, if anyone if you're giving to someone and they're receiving it like out of an energy of scarcity, that's not going to feel the best to give to them. And this is all energy, and it's very subtle. So this is why I'm saying like this is a very advanced level of relating. But just by me sharing this, and maybe hopefully it can help you to understand like how to relate to each other in a way that is more nourishing for you. So one of you beautiful listeners, you wrote to me on Instagram, and you were sharing that like, you know, this man came into your life and he was saying, and you told him, you know, I'm looking for my life partner right now, or I'm open to receiving my life partner. And like, I don't feel that energy or that connection with you in this way, but I would love to be friends. And then this guy is showing up in her life like, okay, yeah, we can just be friends. But then he's being pushy of like wanting to have a romantic relationship with her, even though she said, I want to just be friends. So for me, this is already showing that this person, no matter what they're saying, like you have to also pay attention to their actions. Like basically everything needs to be in alignment, like what they're saying and also how they're showing up. And if they're showing up in a way where their actions are out of alignment with what they're saying, then it means they have a split part. So like maybe one part of their personality, one part of their consciousness is like, yeah, I can agree to this because I want to be in this person's life. I really like this person's energy. But then they have another part or a subconscious part that they're not maybe fully aware of. So I'm not claiming this person's doing it even maliciously or in a manipulative way. I just think that a lot of times we have subconscious parts of us that want to get their needs met. And so there's probably a subconscious part of him that is like, I really want to be in a romantic relationship with you. Like, you're amazing. And, you know, I'm falling in love with you every time I hang out. And that part is not being vocal. That part is not getting their needs met. And so it's coming out in like this weird, like split part where, you know, they're saying like, yeah, we can be friends, but then their actions are doing something completely different. And this is like, I'm sighing because like, this is really annoying. Like I really like, and so this woman was reaching out to me like, how do you deal with this? And I will say to you that I don't normally have these men in my life that are they're in that much out of alignment. You know, they have such a big split part. I've experienced them in my life, and they usually go bye bye very quickly. I'm like, bye bye, no thank you. I don't need this in my life. And this is something that I find to be really, there's always synchronicity. That's also why I made this podcast, because there's a synchronicity of me receiving this message from the readers, or listeners, from one of you, and also experiencing one of the situations my last couple days in Egypt. So I was like, oh, okay, so I'm going to share this podcast because apparently this is something's relevant for my community. So I'll share a story with you. This is the part that I was saying potentially could be very triggering, because I was very triggered by it. So if you're listening, I just want you to know I'm good. I'm okay. I'm safe. Like, I did not get raped. Like, everything's okay. I want to just say that before I share the story. But it was, when I look back on it, it was a close call to being something that could have been a very potentially dangerous situation for me. So I went to Egypt with my friend Jimmy here in Berlin. We met in Berlin. He's Egyptian. We went to Egypt together. He booked his plane tickets back. I say wrong in the sense that he got the dates wrong and accidentally booked it 2 days before I was leaving. And he was like, I want to change my plane ticket. I promised you that I would keep you safe all the way through Egypt. And he really, in so many ways showed up and protected and provided for me as my friend. And he's like, I promised myself and I promised you that I would get you home safe to Germany. And I was like, Jimmy, it's okay. I'm going to be fine. I booked this really nice hotel on the beach. It's it's all inclusive. So, I don't even really need to leave. And I did that on purpose because I just wanted a couple days to ground in really calm energy and a private beach and everything's taken care of. And because the rest of my Egypt trip was just really a lot of chaos. And so I told him, I was like, I'm going to be okay. I will see you in Berlin in a couple days. Everything's okay. And he was like, I don't have a good feeling about this, but okay. So he gets on the plane and he goes. And then I was like, oh yeah, Egypt is really affordable when it comes to beauty stuff. So I went and I booked a couple appointments. I went to get my hair done. I got what else did I got my nails done. And then I went to a dermatologist and I got some skin, facials and skin treatments that they have in Egypt that are really nice for your skin. And the guy that was the dermatologist, he normally has his assistant with him, and that woman was just not there that day. She had holiday or something. So I'm alone with him in this room, and I felt very comfortable. I was like, whatever. And first off, I just want to say he was very attractive. So I was like, oh, okay, he's very nice looking. And then he makes a couple comments about spirituality. And he's like, yeah, I can tell you're a really spiritual person. And I was like, yeah, I actually am. But what I found was Egyptian people are very spiritual, but in a way that is different from how the rest of the Western world is. They're a lot more embodied in their spirituality, almost like Asian and Indian, almost like the Eastern side of the world. So this guy was surprising me because he was speaking about spirituality in a way that we would in the West. And then I learned that he's lived outside of Egypt, which is a big deal. It's very hard for them to get visas. And he's like, yeah, I've lived all over Europe. And we just ended up having a really nice conversation while he's giving me a facial. And then he said to me at the very end, he was like, I would love to see you again before you leave, if you want that too. And I just I looked at him and I kind of was like, is this a thing? In Egypt, I'm always asking myself, are they saying this to everyone? Because there is just a thing there of men being very forward with with women. And so I told him, okay, I'll think about it. I have your number, because I had been messaging him on WhatsApp to book the appointment. And he was like, okay. And then he walks me out and everything's normal and I go. And then I think that's when I went, and I immediately went from there to get my hair dyed. And while I was at the hair appointment, I was thinking about him and I was like, would I want to see him again? And I was like, yeah, actually, I think it would be nice, like, talk to him and learn like his perspective of Egypt, um, and just talk more about spirituality. And it's, I'm here for 2 more nights. Like, I'm not expecting anything like crazy, like romantic or anything. I just think it would be fun. So I messaged him and I say, hey, like I'm leaving soon, but like I can probably hang out tonight. I think I had that night and the next night, and then I was flying out Monday morning. And so he was like, okay, I am getting off soon, and like I can pick you up like in the main center and take you for dinner. And I was like, okay. So I messaged him, like I went to get tea somewhere, and then he picks me up and drives me to a really nice restaurant, and we have the best time for like 90% of the meal, where it's like we're talking about spirituality. He comes from a really wealthy family. He went to a really nice school. He lived all over Europe, and so he's like understands what the culture is like on the outside of Egypt. And I found it really interesting that like his version of spirituality is very similar to mine, where he grew up in a religious environment and then he's choosing to come up with his own connection to God, source, universe. And I asked him, I was like, can you explain your version of the universe to me? And it was very similar to mine. So I was like, wow, I just love that, like, everywhere I go in the world, like I can attract in people who view reality in the same way as me. And also, we're flirting, we're having a nice time. Like it's like a good vibe, right? And then like towards the end of dinner is when things start getting weird. And then he makes some comments. So he's like being a gentleman this entire time, like just making sure I have everything I need, like asking, am I happy? Like, just like doing nice gentlemanly things. And then towards the end of the meal, he makes a comment that starts making me feel uncomfortable, where he's like, yeah, I'm just wondering if this meal is going to be worth it or not. And I was like, what do you mean by that? Because I was still in like this bubbly flow of like, yeah, we're connecting, everything's great. And he was just like, yeah, I'm just kind of wondering if like, basically like he was asking like, am I going to get laid or not? Or like, is this meal or this time spent together going to pay off in some way in a sexual connection? And I was like, what the fuck? Because again, I only surround myself with men who are really honoring me. And I made some comment like, but just by being in my energy is already a privilege, right? Like I don't hang out with that many people, and I was like, you're the first man in Egypt that I've like gone on a date with. And he was like, yeah, you're right. I guess you're right. And then I just like clocked it, like I paid attention to it, but then we kept talking about other things, and it was like, again, a nice conversation. And then we get in the car. So remember, he picked me up, right? So we get in the car, and I told him like which hotel I'm staying at. And he was just like, are you sure you don't want to like come over to my house to hang out more? And I said, no, I think at this point I was like, I'm feeling red flags. So I was like, I think I'm just going to go home. Like, can you just take me home? And he was like, okay. And then he just like out of the blue puts his hand on my thigh, like my inner thigh, my inner leg, right? And I look at him, I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I don't know, just, seeing what happens. And I said, I didn't say that you can touch me there. I didn't say you could touch me at all. And then he's like, oh, okay, sorry. And then he like holds my hand. And I was like, at this point, I think I hit like frozen mode, where I was like, what the fuck is happening? Because I am not used to men like crossing boundaries. Like I literally live in a reality where men are always asking for consent. If anything, they're afraid of me and afraid of crossing my boundaries. So they're the ones who are more frozen than me. And so this was like a new experience. And then we pull up, and then he pulls up and he slows down, and he's like, oh, by the way, this is where I live. And I look at the place and I'm like, okay, but I want you to take me home. And he was like, okay, yeah, I can take you home. Like, I just wanted to show you where I live. And I was like, again, red flags. So then we start driving, and like, we're only like 5 minutes away from our hotel. So I know where we are. Like I wasn't feeling like scared or anything, but I was just like, this is not okay. And then he tries to grab my boob. He just literally takes his hand out of like, because I was holding his hand. And I realized later I was holding his hand because I didn't want him to touch me anywhere else, which is not necessarily an answer or a good answer, but it's like, if you're a woman, you understand what I'm saying right now. And so then he like removed his hand and like puts it on my boob. And I was just like, I pushed it away. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, oh, just seeing how far I can get. And I'm like, what? And again, this is like I felt like I was talking to a completely different person. It was like this mode where like his like, I don't know, like his penis got in his brain, and like suddenly he was like just trying to get laid or see how far he could get. And I was like, what happened to the gentleman I had like 95% of this my experience with, who was like pulling the seat back for me at dinner and ordering everything that I wanted and making sure I was happy and talking about spirituality and like having traveled the world. And then you're just like trying to grab me and grope me, while, like basically assault me while you're taking me home. And also like low key trying to take me to your house, but I was like having none of it. So then we pull up to my hotel and he pulls to the side, and then he again like tries to grab my boob, tries to grab my pussy. And I just was like, stop, like, what the fuck are you doing? And then he kisses me. And I was just like, what? And I just froze. I just like let him kiss me. And this is also, I think sometimes when I think about this story, I feel a little bit embarrassed or ashamed that I didn't just like scream and like run away. But like when you're in this situation, there is a huge part of me that's just like, what the fuck is going on? Like my brain is trying to catch up with my body, and my body is frozen because it's had so many times in the past where you just had to kind of go along with things. And I don't put my body in situations where it has to go along with things anymore. I'm usually in situations where my body is very fully engaged and it's very excited and, all this stuff. So then I push him away. Like I finally catch up. My body catches up with my brain, and I push him away, and I'm like, what the fuck? And he's just like, yeah, but you're just so beautiful and like this and that. And I was like, I'm going to go now. Bye. And then I leave, and he messaged. So the security guards like are asking me like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I just wanted to go in the house or go into my hotel room and just like make it all go away. And I get into my hotel room, and he's messaging me like, oh, I hope I can see you tomorrow. And I just was like, how does he not understand that this is not okay? And in the past, I would make it my job to, and maybe still like it's something where I feel like I should tell him, but I told him every step of the way, this is not okay. No, 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 no. And what I realized was like, this person does not deserve my energy anymore. I'm not even going to reply to him. So I just block him. I'm like, I literally never want to see you again. I never want to hear from you again. And then Jimmy, who I came to Egypt with, who's in Berlin at this moment, won't stop calling me and messaging me when get to my hotel room. And I'm like, what is going on? So I just messaged him. I'm like, are you okay? What's going on? And he's like, are you okay? Like, what's happening? And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm okay. And he's like, so he is very spiritual as well. He has his version of like in Egypt, they have like their own version of tarot. It's like a different card deck, but it's the same kind of thing. And so he's like, I saw in my cards that you were in danger right now. And I just got full body goosebumps because I'm like, yes, I was in danger, but I'm okay. And everything's okay. And he's like, I literally want to get on the next plane right there now. Or like, do you want, because he has friends in the police force. He's like, do you want me to get my friends to come like watch you and like make sure you're okay? And I was like, I'm fine. Because I also knew that if I said the word, that they could make a very bad situation for this guy, like prison or maybe even something worse. And I just wanted to go. I just wanted to get out of Egypt. I just didn't want any more drama. I just wanted it all to go away. And maybe that's not the highest vibrational thing that I could have done. Maybe a past version of myself needed to stand up for myself and make sure that this guy like got his justice and all this stuff. But I just didn't feel like I needed to learn that lesson. I've had so many times in my life where I stood up for myself, and you guys, I'm just tired of it. I just want to go home. I just want to go home. I just want this all to go away. And like when I was 7 years old, I got sexually molested by my neighbor for like years. And when I because of that, that was one of the main reasons why I went into studying law when I got out of high school. I went into university. And when I was studying law, I realized that there is something in the States called the statutory of limitations. And it's basically like the limit to which, like how old you can be until you can report someone sexually molesting you. So basically the statutory limitations was that I had until I was 21 to report someone molesting me as a kid. And so at 18 years old, I went into the police station and I reported my neighbor for molesting me from like the ages of like 7 to 10 years old. And they opened a court case against him. He got prosecuted, the whole thing. So like I've had times in my life where I've really stood up for myself. And this was just one of these cases where I was just like, I'm just bored of this. I'm so bored of men just not getting it. And also it was like a big wake up call for me though. Like there's still men like this out there, because it would be one thing if this guy was sleazy from the beginning. Like if he was just like, I want to touch you, or like I want things from you, like this kind of taking energy, this consumer energy. But he wasn't. He was like, I'd love to take you on a date and like, spend like all this time and money and energy like sharing with me. Like, and I have had I would say that all of the experiences I've had with with men in my life in the last couple of years are like this, where they're just like the positive side. And then to get like the last 5% of it to be like a completely different person who's like sleazy and like groping and all this stuff, I was like, ew, what the fuck? And it made me realize that like these men are still out there, or there's what I think a better way of saying it is there's parts of them that are not integrated, because I wonder if he was even fully aware of how much his personality shifted in front of my eyes, because it went from like someone who was like a gentleman, a nice, high society man, to just like this sleazy, like scarcity mindset. I need like sexual desires met kind of thing. And I was like, ew. So I'm sharing this story with you because I think that it's important for you to know that like even me, Brittnee Bond, very empowered in my energy, also still deals with shit. Like I still have stuff that happens in my reality, and I do my best to handle it. And also sometimes it's okay to just be like, I just want it to go away and deal with it later. I guess I'm sharing this with you that like, however you need to respond to a situation like that is okay. I think there's also in today's world, like this idea that like, there's a lot of shame around like, if something bad happens, like I was talking to my girlfriends who host the play parties last week about this. Like I shared this story with them, and we were all discussing how there's a lot of like victim blaming that happens. Like, and I think it happens on a very subconscious level where people don't realize it, where it's like, like for instance, in the situation where I'm sharing about this situation, where it's like, why didn't I go to the security guards and like go report him? Why didn't I go to the police and report him? Why didn't I scream when the first time he like groped me and like got out of the car and got a taxi? And I didn't do any of those things because I was just tired. I was just like, I'm so done with Egypt. I'm so done with men here. I like the men in my community that are really honoring boundaries and consensual and on my vibration all the way through, and are integrated in all of their parts, the most of their ability. It's like they're showing up in a way that feels safe and nourishing and protective for me. So it's okay that I didn't respond in the way that was like, I guess I just want to say that to myself, that to let go of that shame, that like maybe I should have screamed and run away and like reported him. And also it's making me even more grateful for all the beautiful men that I have in my life that are safe and do not have ulterior motives and are not like, clocking like everything that they do for me and like creating this like debt of like wanting to get this paid back in some sexual favor or something. Like they actually just love me for existing, and they just want to show up for me because of their love for me and for nothing else, because it's a privilege to be in my energy and it's a privilege to create a safe world for me. And I'm sharing this with you that you also deserve this. And if you're a man that's listening to this, please be a safe space for all of us women. And I'm not calling out that all men are like this. I'm just bringing to the attention that this is still happening, and it even happens to me. So I'm wondering what's happening to all the rest of the women out there, because I feel like my vibration puts off a lot of these men already. Like, a lot of them don't come into my reality because they're just scared of me. And I have kind of a like, don't fuck with me vibe. But I also believe that like, I don't want to, like, the reason why I'm so soft these days is because I love the idea of not having to be my masculine energy, where I'm like, you know, pushing people away, or like, you know, screaming, and like that's like me having to protect myself and be my masculine energy, which is fine. I have that in me and I'm okay. Like, I handled the situation in a way where I got out of it, right? And I was okay and I was safe. But I would rather, and I'm grateful that I live in a reality most of the time where I don't have to have this protective barriers up, where I can just be my soft, sensual, sexy version of myself. And the men around me just want to keep creating a safe container so that I can keep unfolding to be even more soft and sensual, and whatever version of me is showing up that day. So yeah, still have feelings about that situation, mostly just because it was so confusing. Like, I'm really good at reading people. I feel like I have a very good BS meter. Like, I can see through a lot of stuff. And this guy was, I would say, most of his parts of his personality were fully integrated. So it was like very confusing when this big shadow side of him came up, and he was just like, I want something sexually from you. And I was also just like, ew, you know, like, it just really gave me the ick factor. I was just like, oh, it doesn't matter how attractive you are or how much money you have, like, or whatever. Like, when you're in that energy, no woman finds that attractive. The best thing to do if you're a guy listening to this is just be a safe man who is showing up, and it's okay if you have sexual desires. You can share about them in a calm way. That is not, you can share about your sexual desires, and you can even do it in a sexy way, but it needs to be done without any expectation of any return, because that's the scarcity mindset. If you feel like I need to get it from this person specifically, that's like saying to the universe, I can't get it. I'm in a scarcity and I need it from this person. And if I don't get it from this person, then, like, you know, I'm not going to be okay. Instead of, you can be in an abundance mindset of like, well, I desire to connect with someone sexually, and whether it's with this person, if this person it's not in alignment for them, or they're not desiring it, it's okay. There's going to be someone else that I click with and that I have a beautiful connection with, and that I can share a beautiful love story with. Lots of sighing, but I'm just here to share with you guys that it is possible to have a reality where men show up in your life in a beautiful way, in a way that is safe, in a way that is nourishing. And also, if they are not those men, get them out of your life. If they are not in alignment, if they're some way their actions or their words are not lining up, just get them out of your life. Just say no thank you. Just no thank you, bye-bye, no thank you. And then you can have more space for the men in your life that are showing up for you and that want to show up for you in a way that is positive and nourishing and very high vibration. So that is my story. And looks like it's about to rain. You guys, it's the middle of July in summertime in Berlin. Why is it raining? I don't understand. This reminds me so much of Portland, Oregon. And there's a reason why I don't live there. But I'm enjoying just being nestled deep in community here, and knowing that tomorrow I have a women's dinner for all the women who run the play party with me. And on Saturday we have the last vanilla play party for the summer in Berlin. And I'm just so excited to gather all of you together. And I'm sending you so much love and power and softness and strength. And I hope that you have a beautiful day.